Good afternoon. Call to order this the special meeting of the San Bernardino International Airport Authority this Friday, October the 26th. Before we go into closed session, is there anything to add to the closed session agenda?
Nothing to add, sir.
Any public comments for closed session?
None.
Thank you. We will return here upon the conclusion of closed session.
I've been
We're now back into open session, and at this time we'll ask for a report on closed session.
So there's no reportable action, sir.
All right, thank you. We have a roll call.
From the City of Colton, please state your name for the record.
Richard De La Rosa.
Thank you. From the City of Loma Linda.
Ovi Popescu.
Thank you. From the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
James Ramos.
Thank you. From the City of Highland.
Penny Lilburn.
Thank you. And from the City of San Bernardino.
Kerry Davis.
Fred Charette.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mayor De La Rosa will lead us.
Thank you. Please join me in honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything to be added to the agenda?
Nothing to be added, sir.
All right, any of conflict of interest to be disclosed at this time? All right. Go to item number 2, Executive Director's Report.
So I have an introduction to make. We are very, very pleased to have hired a new executive assistant, Mark and me particularly. Thank you, Kat. But Ms. Michelle Casey joined our team, thankfully, and I want to introduce her. She will be the smiling face in our building, and you certainly will see more and more of her. So welcome, and thank you for, continuing to work with us. And then I would be remiss if we didn't give you a proper SBD Fest update. So Ms. Pritchett, can you fill us in on how things are doing going into our final week? Really?
Final week, 7 days until SBD Fest 2018. So far, we've just had a great team making great progress. This year's ticket sales have far surpassed what we've seen in the past.
Wow.
As of this morning, we've sold over 300 tickets for Saturday and 200 tickets for Sunday. This time last year, we were at 30 and 20. So that gives an indication of the interest that we have going in. We've had an excellent committee this year, not only of airport and IVDA staff, but the City of San Bernardino, County of San Bernardino, all of our local radio stations, public safety. It's just been an incredible staff, an incredible team going in, and it's been a lot of fun. It's going to be bittersweet for it to end next Sunday, but it'll be a great show. We did also confirm, along with the Air Force 810, we do have an Air Force flight simulator coming on site, and also 2 Navy F-18s will be here. It'll be an F-18 Growler and an F-18 Raptor. Wow. So we're really excited to have so many military assets here on display this year. I'm happy to answer any air show questions. By now, you should all have your tickets, and your respective staffs have been invited, and we're really looking forward to next weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our report.
Thank you. Now we'll move to consent calendar. We have any items to be pulled? No, we have a motion and a second. Any objection? Seeing none, consent calendar is approved. Next is item number 12. This is a public hearing. This public hearing is now open. Public hearing is to adopt resolution number 2018-02 of the San Bernardino International Airport Authority, certifying the environmental impact report, the EIR, for the Eastgate Building 1 project, affecting approximately 101.5 acres of vacant land at the San Bernardino International Airport. Mr. Burrows?
Yes, I'll make a few introductory comments, and then it asks some very important team members to come up and present. Just want to thank the Commission for your support on this project. It is one for the record books, and it is, as we've talked about, a game changer for SBD for years to come. Mr. Dodson and I have done environmental documents for just a few years, but this one has been really an interesting project, fun and exciting in many ways, and challenging in a few others. But I've not seen a project of this size where you get 8 support letters and 6 comment letters. And that's a testament to you all up there and your respective bodies and the communities that we work for to have something this important be so well received by not only the community, but the responsible agencies. And I'm really, really proud of that. But before I get too proud, Tom, can you come forward and walk us through the process here, Mr. Dodson?
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Tom Dodson. I worked with the staff to pull together this remarkable document in a very short period of time. It is, I almost want to sit up here and say, wow, we've gotten this far and we're at a place that can really start something out of the ordinary here at the airport. It is an extraordinary project. We've had good meetings and good feedback from a lot of agencies, in particular because a project this large, we do have significant adverse impacts from an air quality standpoint. And that's just simply because you've got a lot of aircraft coming in and you have a lot of vehicles on the road when you're going to be possibly generating as much as 3,800 employees. That's a lot of employees at the site. Given that, we've gone through the whole process. We started out with the hope of being able to do a negative declaration. We got to the end of the initial study and found that there were 3 issues that we could not show to be mitigable to a less than significant impact. We then announced that we were going to prepare a focused environmental impact report on those 3 issues, and those 3 issues are air quality, greenhouse gas, and noise. We were able to show that from a circulation system standpoint for traffic, that we could mitigate all the impacts on the local circulation system. So from that perspective, traffic did not have to be carried forward. We did, however, do a lot of extra work on the traffic issue to be able to support both the activities that are going on with the FAA under NEPA and also to work with the local cities to look at an alternative trip distribution model, which was done and completed. We ended up, as I said, with the 3 significant impacts. We have some impacts along Victoria related to noise that cannot be mitigated. We ended up with emissions. Almost all of those emissions are related to mobile source emissions, the combination of aircraft and vehicles on the road, which will generate a substantial emissions. But I want to take just a half second to say we had a meeting with South Coast Air Quality Management District, which was extremely positive, set up by the folks at Hillwood. And as a result of that meeting, we were able to work with South Coast to come up with a plan to show that we can still conform with the air quality management plan, even though we are going to be significant. There are sufficient emission offsets to be able to offset what we're doing. Greenhouse gas emissions are pretty substantial, but this project has reduced those to a large extent, at least those that could be reduced related to the facility itself. And that's because we're going to have at least approximately a 3.5 megawatt solar system that's going to be installed with the structure. So that's a very large plus. With that, we've come through the process. The process ended for us in terms of the comment period on October 11th. We hustled, and Mike actually indicated we had 6 comment letters. In fact, we only had 3 comment letters, and one of those was just a notification from the state that we had no comments from the state agencies. So we didn't receive any. We only received one from South Coast, where they asked us to add in additional mitigation measures, most of which the applicant has agreed to, and also to, we also got a second letter, I apologize, from Caltrans, asking us to verify certain things in our traffic data. Those were responded to in a timely manner, and we're here before you with, on the exact day. We have to give folks who commented 10 days prior to the hearing, which we have, and we're here before you to hopefully get this document certified. And I'll answer any questions you folks may have.
Thank you. A couple of questions that I'd like to pose at this time on page 144 of the packet. You made mention of it earlier. Has to do with greenhouse gas.
Yes, sir.
Indicated there that there will be a 3.75 megawatt direct current solar voltaic panel system that'll be installed at some point in time.
Maybe the applicant can respond more, but it's required, I believe, soon after operations begin.
And on page 151, it is also made reference there that there's a reduction of 27 from the original DEIR. And maybe that is a better question for the applicant, but so it was a significant change from 3 megawatts, or from 30 megawatts down to 3 megawatts.
You're now, I believe you're actually talking about the energy to be consumed by the facility. There was a very substantial reduction after we got the more detailed data, but the actual 3.5 megawatt solar facility was never envisioned. It was envisioned there would be 30 megawatts of power required for the facility. That is overstating the situation. We provided an errata sheet that brought everything current, and it lays things out, I hope, very clearly so you understand that, in fact, it's only about 3 to 5 megawatts is what the facility will actually require to operate.
And Mayor, that's a testament to the work that Hillwood and the design and engineering teams did as the process moved forward in looking at ways to maximize the efficiency of the building itself. And that occurred during the EIR process.
And so that solar panel will essentially provide the bulk of the energy needs?
For peak demands, yeah, that's the intent.
Additionally, on page 240, there was an initial indication of approximately 300,000 cubic yards to be removed, and
That is
now it's
correct.
down to 60. So
That is
again, a
correct.
fairly significant change from the original.
Thank you, kids. That's my daughter who's helping me pull things together.
Thank you, daughter.
Her name is
Can
Caitlin.
you, so can you explain the
Yeah.
change in that?
Yes, sir. As I said, there were some fairly dramatic reductions, and actually, we actually reduced air emissions very substantially during construction. But in this particular case, after going back over the facility, looking at how they were going to actually grade the site in more detail with their engineers, the Hillwood folks came back and told us that they could do this site by only taking away the 30,000 cubic yards, 30,000
I
cubic
think
yards.
it's 60.
Oh, it's 60, I apologize. It's 60,000 versus the 300,000. And that meant that delta, which is 240,000 cubic yards, would not have to be removed from the site.
And then also on page 120, the traffic mitigation for Highland Avenue and 3rd Street. What's the approximate estimated time of that work to be completed?
My understanding is that those measures are going to be implemented prior to putting vehicles on the road for the operations of the facility.
Right. And that's in part some of the grant funding resources we've been working with Highland for to make sure that those projects stay on track.
All right, so that's sometime in 2019.
So yeah, it'd be opening day is our forecast on that. So.
Okay. And then one last question,
That's fine, that's why I'm here.
pretty minor, but on page 95, you might actually want to reference it because very small change.
Okay, I am there, sir. Go ahead.
All right, so paragraph 4.2-14,
Yes?
the bolded section down there where it says developer will collaborate will, I think it's just supposed to be to set a goal.
You're correct.
So we could make that minor change.
We will do so.
Thank you. Thank you. Those questions that I had. Any other commissioner questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Just on the mitigation, less than significant findings, was part of that, the solar component of it, part of that whole mitigation, also as far as trying to offset some of that?
The answer to your question is yes, in terms of the offset. But the issue of being able to reduce it below a level of significant impact, keep in mind that I believe that the emissions associated with goods movement, which is the aircraft and the trucks, vehicles that are associated with the facility, constitute 94% of the emissions for the operating facility. And so even though we made substantial reductions in the generation of greenhouse gas from the facility itself, the bulk of the emissions are actually coming, so we could not reduce those below a level of significant impact.
Okay. And with the air quality, that was another area being looked at. How was that mitigated also?
Well, I think I'm going to turn and ask how many mitigation measures? 40? Yeah, there's over 40 mitigation measures to reduce air emissions.
Okay.
And the one that you just referenced, Mr. Mayor, was one of those to encourage and actually implement reductions or ride-sharing programs. That's one that South Coast asked us to add, which we did. There were many others, but there were over 40 mitigation measures. We actually were able to reduce the emissions for particulates below the threshold, but we still had volatile organic compounds, VOC, and NOx, nitrogen oxides, as emissions that we couldn't get down low enough. And again, but I want to frame that in the context that after our meeting with South Coast, they believe they've got a bank which we can rely upon to make sure that our emissions don't cause us to exceed and allow us to remain in conformity with the air quality management plan.
Thank you.
As part of that ride reduction effort, did you look into the possibility of engaging Omnitrans with some potential bus service?
That's also one of the mitigation measures, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
It is.
Thank you. Any other questions?
If it pleases the commission, I would invite John Magnus with Hillwood to come forward. I'd like him to make a few comments. I mean, this has been a true team effort. The Hillwood team has been working not just with us, but with industry and a whole lot of folks to pull this off. And I would like to hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Members of the authority, my name is John Magnus. I'm with Hillwood. I have with me several members of my team that have been doing all the work, and I just get to stand up here and talk to you today. But we couldn't have done this without the staff at the airport. The staff at the city has been working overtime, literally, to get this project done today. We made some commitments to be ready to start construction on November 1st, and I think we'll meet that if we can get the federal government in line with some other, basically with the air component.
Is that a request to us to get the federal government in line?
You do what you can, Mayor. Do what you can. But, we're here today really as the next phase and evolution of Alliance California, which is the Norton Air Force Base redevelopment. And I know I come before you every year and give you the state of the project. And this is really the next evolution for us. So we've built out most of the vacant property at the base and created the 10,000 jobs that we promised. But we've always looked at the airport as it's really where everybody used to work. There's so many people working on the airport when the base was operational. And if we could put a number of people to work on the base, we'd exceed the 10,000 number that were here before. But the only way to do that really is define aviation use. And aviation uses that want to come here, want to be in Southern California, aren't as many as they used to be. If you've watched the news over the last 10 years, you've seen Boeing move out and other aviation maintenance companies move out of the state because of taxes and air quality and other things. So to try to find an air cargo company or an aviation company to come here, it's rare. But we think we found some, and Mike and his team have done an outstanding job in really going to them and making the presentations. And that's why you have FedEx and UPS here already. It's been a collaborative effort. We're hoping to attract more. If you have looked at the site plan, this will be one of the largest air cargo facilities in the U.S. if we can build what we say and get it done on time. It will be a huge job center for San Bernardino, for Highland, for Loma Linda, for the county, and for Colton. And if you look at how you all have come together to make this happen and work together, you know, Highland is getting a lot of the traffic. Colton is getting a lot of the aircraft coming in, and the city of San Bernardino is doing the heavy lifting on getting the permits together. I don't know what Loma Linda is doing, so I'm sorry, Ovi. But it has been a very big collaborative effort. I should mention the county also on the workforce development side has been meeting with prospective clients and tenants to make sure that we can put the 2,000 plus people here to work. So it's been a very, very collaborative effort. So to answer some of your questions, Tom does a great job on the technical side, but I'll just tell you that it's getting harder and harder to build in California compared to 20 years ago when we started this project. Compared to that, it used to be you could do a negative declaration and get the building out of the ground probably within 4 to 6 months from dreaming it up. But this project is requiring some extensive study. So to have an ability to put solar panels on the roof to reduce greenhouse gases, to have an ability to reconfigure the building so that we don't have to export 300,000 cubic yards of dirt and save all those truck trips that are going out on the freeway or trying to move the dirt to somewhere else and keep it on site and use it, I think is good because it really does reduce the amount of traffic out there. Working with the Air Quality Management District, working with the city and the cities and the county, I think we've come up with a great plan with mitigation, but it's really been a 20-year collaborative effort. I always say when I started this project, Mike was an intern. I think that's true, and now Mike's running the place. But he's been a great partner throughout the years. You know, we've had various agreements over the years since 2000 where we've paid money to control the land, to control our destiny on the airport, off the airport, shared profits with you all to try to get it to this point where we can get all the infrastructure needed to get this project out of the ground. And now it's finally to this point. So this is really, for Alliance California, the last 100 acres. This is it. We've got a little bit of remaining pieces, but if you could dream up anything to put here, to put into this project, you know, an air cargo facility would be my choice. You talk about great paying jobs with high tech, with you know, cargo coming from other parts of the country, connecting San Bernardino, Highland, Loma Linda, and the county, and Colton, all with other parts of the United States. That's where we'd want to be. So, you know, there's a trite saying that says if you build a road, you go a mile, you build a mile worth of runway, and you can go around the world. And really, that's what's going to happen. You're bringing everything to bear here. But I'd just like to take one more opportunity to thank everybody that made this possible. It's a long list, but I've got, for my team here, if you can just quickly stand up and sit down and don't say anything. Ned Shortino leads my development team along with Josh Cox. He's here. Scott Morse works with me on finding tenants for the building. He's still got some work to do, so we can put a tenant in here. And Tom and Caitlin, we couldn't have done this without you, so we appreciate you getting it to this point. And Jonathan, on the legal side, making sure that we don't screw up CEQA is very, very important. Not shown here, though, are the people, the architects, the engineers, the planners, everybody else that is busy working on the project. And then, Mayor, your city has done an outstanding job. I'd put them up against any jurisdiction to get something done. We're a demanding client, we know, but they take calls on weekends at night, and you've got a great team, and we appreciate them working hard on this project. And they're still working on it, that's right. One more trip down memory lane. This project really wouldn't have been possible without some great friends, Bill Leonard, Tim Sabo, and Don Rogers, who really got it to this point. They saved this last 100 acres for air cargo. Despite my chances and pushing to try to do something else there, I think they saw something, and so I'm glad they did save it. So subject to your questions, that's all I have to say today, and thank you very much for your work on this.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Any public comments slips?
Just some comment, Mr. Mayor.
Assembly, Commissioner?
It really is, and to John and Hillwood, to everybody that's worked so hard on this project for all these years, and keeping that hope alive here for this airport to continue to move forward and create those jobs that were lost and were vital to our community. And now seeing that close to 3,800 new jobs, aviation-related jobs, are something that's coming to fruition, I think deserves a round of applause, not only for the commission, but for your staff also. So let's give you a round of applause. And also, when we talk about creating the jobs and the high-tech jobs, I mean, this community continues to move forward in partnering with the trades that are now in the aviation sector to continue to build on that model here, because now that these 3,800 jobs are potentially coming to this area, now the growth now to train people to retain those jobs right from our community is something now that we continue to work on. So thank you all, and thank you, Commission, for bringing this to fruition.
I might just mention, thank you, John, for the shout out to the city. Several months ago, actually over a year ago, when the city was looking at a new city manager, we had the opportunity to engage someone that really is helping to promote the development and has brought good talent into that. And that's our new city manager, Andrea Miller, who you've had an opportunity to work with. And as a result of her very conscientious efforts, I'm sure she's been part of those weekend calls. But someone that's on this commission that also needs to be recognized is Councilman Schrett, because it was Councilman Schrett that saw the potential of that city manager and was really the catalyst of helping the city to reacquire the services of our city manager. So I want to thank him for that effort, because he saw her value. And then the council and the mayor, we voted 8-0 to bring that new city manager on board. And so thank you for recognizing that. So as you pointed out, someone recognized the value of that 100 acres. Councilman Schrett, because he'd been on the council for some time, recognized the value of Andrea Miller coming back to the city and working as a city manager. So I thank you again for that. So, we have no other comments. Do we have a motion to move this?
To approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Seeing none, it's so ordered. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yep. This time, we'll ask if there are any other public comment slips. No. Any commission member comments to be made at this time? Nobody? All right. Well, this meeting's...
Good job to the staff also for bringing this to fruition. Give yourselves a round of applause there.
Yep. Very good. Thank you.
Just in time for air show, Kat. See? We planned this that way.
Very good. Well, thank you. Yes, we do appreciate staff and their hard efforts, and we're certainly grateful for our executive director who's ushered this process through. So thank you very much, and this meeting is adjourned.